When I was taught this game, the fundamental core principles of this game from Gary Halbert, he introduced me to direct mail. And as a result of being introduced to direct mail, I was introduced to a lot of real old school cigarette smoking, hardened direct response, direct mail guys. And they really had the fundamentals of this business down. And essentially, the way that the whole was taught to me is that if you take a page, draw a line down the middle, on the left, you have acquisition. That's everything got to do with acquiring a first-time customer. And then on the right is monetization. And that's everything got to do with generating more and more revenue and profit from the customers that you essentially acquire. The way it was explained to me is that there's no money in customer acquisition. In fact, if you are making money while acquiring a customer, you're doing it wrong. You're not playing the game the way the game is supposed to be played. The way that the game is supposed to be played, ideally, is that you either break even or take a 20% loss on the front end to acquire the most amount of customers for the monetization phase so that you can make the most quantity of profit on the back end. And that profit then gets used and leveraged in a variety of different ways. One of the most important ways in which that profit is leveraged is to increase the quantity of money that you can spend on the front end to acquire a customer. So if your competitors, for example, are able to acquire customers at $50, well, they can acquire so many customers at $50. Whereas if you could spend $100 to acquire customers, well, then you would acquire what they acquire plus X, that many more customers. So at the end of the day, the whole idea of this business is that whoever can afford to spend the most amount of money to acquire a customer wins. So really where all of the money is in the back end. It's in the monetizing of existing customers. And so many marketers on the internet, almost all of them, really, in my experience, well in excess of 90% of the business owners that I have come in contact with throughout my career really don't understand this. They're trying to make money on the front end. They're trying to generate enough profit to pay the bills, pay all the lifestyle costs, put the kids through college and the whole nine there. But the problem is that there is two inevitable realities that are facing internet business owners, and that is that the cost of traffic is always going up and conversion rates are always going down. So whatever your profit was, 12 months ago on the same ad spend, it's not the same profit margin today. If you even have a profit margin today, it's smaller. And that's because the cost of traffic is always increasing and conversion rates are coming down. So a lot of guys are really trying to fight that battle of, I got to increase my front end customer conversions to overcome the increase cost of traffic to acquire a customer and the decrease in conversions. But that's a losing game. If you can win that game, you at all, which is very, very, very difficult to win that game, it will be a very temporary win because it's like trying to push back waves on a beach. You're not going to win that game long term. The costs will always be increasing, conversion rates will always be decreasing, and it's just not a game that you can win. And this is why so many guys that are acquisition marketers, they find it so difficult, they find it so much of a struggle. And a lot of them these days in 2025 are going out of business in record numbers because the conversions are not there, the costs are so high. So the smart marketers are really the guys that focus on the monetization side of things. They're the ones that build this back-end monetization machine so that there is so much profit on the back end that all they have to do to overcome the increase in traffic on the front end and the decrease in conversion rates on the front end is just increase how much money they're willing to spend to acquire a customer. And if an increase in traffic happens, and at this point in time, by the way, at this very, very moment, Facebook just did a huge overhaul of their system, and a lot of marketers, a tremendous amount of Facebook advertisers are seeing massive increases in CPMs right now. And a lot of those guys are out of business. A lot of them are hurt. They're out of business and they're scratching their heads trying to figure out how to get up past this. But the savvy guys, all the savvy guys would do is just add an extra offer or two, or if they're smart, three to the back end to increase their LTV, the lifetime value that each customer is worth. And all they got to do is just assign a little bit more of that profit on the back end to the front end, and it's business as usual for those guys. So that's really where the money is at, is focusing on the monetization side of things. And in my experience with the guys that I deal with, well in excess of 90% plus of internet business owners are what I would call acquisition marketers. When what really should happen is they should really, once they have an offer that's generating customers on the front end, they should really put 80 to 90% of their focus on generating back end profits, monetizing existing customers.